negotiating, I would say in good faith, for the last 3 weeks on this draft resolution to vote in favor of this resolution, particularly after the language that is stating that that if Israel does not implement the ceasefire, have been taken out. But unfortunately, the text has passed through 4 stages, and 4 clean texts came up, watering down the language to the level that we would have expected that everybody is going to be supportive of it. And the fact that 14 members, including the United Kingdom, which is the traditional ally of the United States, vote in favor of this draft resolution, shows that the United States is an isolated position, and the criticism that we have been seeing, whether from the Secretary General of the League of Arab States or from other leaders in the Islamic world and in the Arab world and in the sober countries in the European Union, shows that there is a state of anger and a state of frustration of what are the plans of the United States and whether the plans are to continue the aggression, the Israeli aggression on Gaza. Here, looking forward in the United Nations, there are 2 ways that we are going to proceed. The first way is that there is a resolution of the General Assembly stating that in case any permanent member of the Security Council exercise the veto on any resolution, the General Assembly is going to hold a public meeting within 10 days from the date the veto have been cast, and to discuss the issue and to get the sense of the larger membership of the United Nations on the issue. And maybe if a resolution is going to be presented to the General Assembly, adopt such a resolution in the General Assembly if it does not contradict with the competence and the distribution of authorities between the Security Council and the General Assembly. We will resort to that, and there is going to be a meeting of the General Assembly, preferably on the beginning of December. In the first week of December, there is going to be a meeting, and I think with that we are considering what type of resolution we are going to present, whether it is the same resolution that we have presented to the Security Council and got 14 vote in favor, or there is another resolution that is going to be presented in this regard.
Ambassador, a technical question here, Ambassador, concerning the resolution, if passed by the UN General Assembly. Are member states bound to abide by resolutions passed by the General Assembly as they are bound to abide by the resolution passed by the Security Council?
All the resolutions of the General Assembly and of the Security Council there is an obligation on member states to implement in accordance with Article 4 of the Charter of the United Nations. But of course, in the Security Council, there are enforcement measures, and that does not come within the purview of the General Assembly. And the General Assembly cannot take a decision taking any enforcement measures except to appoint someone to do specific task, or to send some forces or to send some mission, as it did with Resolution 302 on UNRWA in 1948. And that is what is the distinction between the General Assembly and the Security Council. This resolution that we already presented to the Security Council, we took off the part related to the enforcement measures. So if we took this resolution to the General Assembly and we adopt it with a large majority, 170, 180 votes, that would give the Security Council the message that they are going in the wrong direction. Not all members of the Security Council, rather that will give the United States a message that it is going into the wrong direction.
Okay, Ambassador, what role can the Arab League play in not just pushing for resolutions through the international community's representative or institution as the United Nations, but are there any diplomatic efforts also to support the entrance of humanitarian aid right now in Gaza, and also try to push for diplomatic efforts to stop violence and to stop the escalation in the region as a whole, in Gaza and in Lebanon as well?
Definitely. The Arab League have been very active with the United Nations, with the General Assembly, with the Security Council, and the Arab Islamic Summit that was held in Saudi Arabia in 2023, and the second Arab Islamic Summit that was held last month in Saudi Arabia as well, established a committee of 8 ministers. 5 of them are Arabs, and 3 are from outside the Arab world. And this committee has been charged for with 3 things. One thing is that it should work to cease the fire and to stop the Israeli military actions. Second is to ensure that the high volume of humanitarian assistance pour into the occupied Palestinian territory, particularly into Gaza. And the third is to prevent any kind of enforced migration on the Palestinian people, whether it is from the north of Gaza to the south, or whether it is from Gaza or any part of the Palestinian territory outside. And this committee has been very active. It is chaired by Saudi Arabia, and the Arab League and the OIC are members of this committee. And they're having meetings with all the permanent members in their capitals. They're having meetings with everybody, and they're having meetings here in the United Nations. We had a lot of meetings on the margins of the high-level week at the end of September of the 79th session of the General Assembly, and there was the launch of the two-state solution coalition. This is in close cooperation between the League of Arab States and the OIC and the European Union on one hand, and chaired by Saudi Arabia and Norway on the other hand. And it has now about 143 countries that are in support of the establishment of the Palestinian states in accordance with the two-state solution. And also there is another alliance that have been made to support UNRWA after the resolutions by the Israeli Knesset to bar or to ban the activities of UNRWA in the occupied Palestinian territory that are under the control of Israel. And also this is another initiative that the Arab League has already joined. And the Secretary General has been touring around, and he was just in the G20 in Brazil, and he was speaking about the need to stop the Israeli aggression and the need to implement the 3 goals that have been put forward by the Arab and Islamic Conference. So there is a lot of activities. Apart from what we are doing here in the UN, we are doing a lot of other activities, if you want to talk about.
All right, let's talk. I want to take your comments on the ICC issuing an arrest warrant for the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the former Minister of Defense Yoav Gallant. What impact can these arrest warrants have on the ongoing developments right now?
It could have a severe impact on the issue in increasing the pressure on Israel and showing that Israel is not enjoying impunity. You heard the statement of the ambassador of Algeria yesterday in the Security Council when the United States used the veto power.
Right.
And when he said that Israel enjoys impunity because it is protected by a permanent member of the Security Council. And if this is going to be the case and a permanent member of the council will continue to protect Israel in the Security Council, and if the General Assembly can't take enforcement measures against Israel, the only way member states can go to is to go to the ICC or to the ICJ. And we have already went to the ICJ, and there was an advisory opinion adopted on the 19th of July stating that the presence of Israel in the occupied Palestinian territory is illegal, and Israel should evacuate the occupied Palestinian territory. And that was subject to discussion in the General Assembly. We, in the 10th Emergency Special Session on Palestine, and we adopted another resolution in the General Assembly 1024, asking the Secretary General of the United Nations to present a report within 3 months from the adoption of the resolution. Maybe about 18 December, this report should be coming out on how to implement the ICJ advisory opinion on this issue. And we added to that all the components that came in the ICJ judgment, including one, the convening of an international conference on the establishment of the Palestinian state within the 79th session of the General Assembly, meaning before September 2025. So there is going to be an international conference. The second is to convene the conference of the high contracting parties of the Geneva Conventions to look into the violations of Israel to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The third is to establish a special committee to look into the apartheid practices that Israel is committing in the Palestinian territories. The Secretary General have already communicated with the member states and the international organization and regional organizations, and he got comments from 72 states and 4 organizations, including the League of Arab States and the OIC. And he is working on his report on how to implement all those provisions that came. And so Netanyahu should count his steps, and of course, some would come to say, okay, well, this has happened with President Bashir, and he was never arrested, and this have happened with Vladimir Putin regarding Ukraine, and has not been arrested. It depends on where he goes, but it is ironic in this regard that the initial request that came from Karim Khan, the prosecutor of the ICC, to the court was having 4 people, Netanyahu and Gallant on one side, and then Sinwar and someone else on the other side. The fact that Israel killed Sinwar and the other person before even the arrest warrant came up shows how grave is the accusations, or whether it is regarding genocide, regarding starvation, regarding holding of assistance. They're all war criminals. So
Right.
this is what we hope that is going to happen.